actually surprised that a lot of people downright hated Alien Romulus, and when I was looking at the reasons why, I can understand where a lot of them are coming from. As I've said in my review, I'm the type of person who basically loved all the Alien movies, even the really bad ones. My favorite Alien movie I've got to say is Alien Covenant, which is funny because even for the people that did like Prometheus, they absolutely hated Covenant. So I say that for some backstory on my likes. That being said, even with the awful movies, I can acknowledge when there are stupid things about them, when the characters are stupid, when things don't make any sense. So I'm aware just because I enjoyed a movie doesn't mean that it was a stellar movie. It's just a movie that I enjoyed. As I've said to somebody else before when we were having the discussion, there are people who straight up enjoy and love Sharknado, and that was a pretty stupid freaking movie.
Tornado's heading towards the airport. We need to destroy it before it gets to them. Watch out!
You see what I mean? You know, different strokes for different lengths of people and things. That being said, I'm not gonna dog on anyone who liked it and dog on anyone who didn't like it. I personally liked the movie. Was it the best Alien movie? No, but I think it was a pretty decent Alien movie, and being a movie that takes place in between the first and second Alien movie, it's kind of confusing though when people are like, well, they're trying to be the originals. It literally takes place in between those two movies, so that makes sense. But let's go into why people hated it. Here are the many reasons. The first one that I heard of was because these are Gen Zers. Are they? They look like they're like in between maybe 25 to like 33 or 35. They always try to pose the actors and actresses to be younger, but the fact that people are calling them Gen Zers is just like, okay, what is the purpose of that? Even if they're Gen Zers, and it's like it makes or break a movie for some people depending on the age of the people, and I can understand that, but we're acting as though Aliens takes place in a universe where there are no people under the age of 40 or something. And I don't know about Ellen Ripley, but she looked like she was around that age too in the first movie. So I was a little bit confused at that, but different strokes, I said, for different lengths. The main other complaint that I saw that I completely understand is that the female protagonist was bland. Now, personally, I didn't see her as a Mary Sue at all. I actually thought she was likable, but as far as her interaction with Andy, but she's kind of forgettable in the grand scheme of things. She's not an actress that I would see, oh yeah, look, she did a great performance in this movie. Who did stand out to me though was the person who played Andy, the synthetic. So far, people who play the androids are pretty unforgettable, maybe because the androids are so unsettling, but Andy is also unforgettable because he's so lovable in the beginning, and you can tell that the plot immediately revolves around him, especially when he gets his upgrade. The other reason that people were pissed about Alien Romulus were the member berries, and yes, I did see quite a few of them. I mean, it was to the point where it kind of got annoying in places. Did it break the movie for me? No, but it kind of took me out at times. When Andy comes down, he's like, get away from her, you bitch. And I'm like, bro, no. Who in their right mind in the editing room saw this and decided that was a freaking good idea to add in there? What in the world? Especially when you consider that that movie hadn't happened yet. So it kind of downplayed Ripley's line that comes after the setting of this movie. So I don't know why they decided to do that. Sometimes subtle is best. Other people were saying that the movie felt very generic, and yes, I would say that that's a fair assessment. The movie is pretty much a generic Alien movie. Is it bad? I don't think so. I think it's quite good, and they did a lot of things that I did like in this. But then again, I'm maybe a little bit biased because I liked Alien vs. Predator with Sanaa Lathan when she teamed up with the Predator, and the Predator was like, we're friends now. Yeah, I realized how stupid that was. But even with the Xenomorphs in that, with Grid, like, I love that. I just love anything Xenomorph. I was obsessed with Xenomorphs when I was little. But even after having watched this movie, as someone who likes Prometheus and Covenant, I've got to say that I still rate those movies over this one, if that makes any sense. And I would rate 1 and 2 over this movie, and then Romulus would be after those. The other thing that people didn't like were plot conveniences, and these didn't break these for me. They kind of ticked off the immersion a little bit, but I can understand where people are coming from, and I also agree with some of these because I've actually come up with some of these reasons why it was just really weird plot conveniences. One that I've heard people saying is when they're trying to save the one girl, the bald-headed woman's life, they have an idea to freeze the tail off the thing, and I guess it works. And yes, you would would think that that's something Ripley would have come up with, and they're just like, why don't we just do this? And it's like, okay, why didn't the other people in the other movies do that? It's a little bit convenient, isn't it? Punani. The other plot convenience, which I was thinking to myself as they were doing it, wait a minute, so they're not going to address that, is when they have to go in the room with the face huggers. And they come up with a plan that, just like in Tremors, they can be invisible to the face huggers if they bump up the room temperature to be their body temperature. So both of their body temperatures just happen to be at exactly the same temperature at this time when they had been running and their adrenaline is spiking. Really? Okay, is it gonna stay that way? Does the room fluctuate with their body temperatures? As they have a scare and they're going through the room, the face huggers are like, what's going on? Oh my God, we can't see now. And we can't hear you, even though like obvious noise was being made after it being super quiet, because the face huggers hunt by heat and by noise. But both of those things were an issue when they went in that room. But the biggest plot inconvenience to me, or plot convenience, I should say, for me, was when they left the door open. They went in right after they set the temperature from the room. Now, I don't know about anybody else. I may be stupid, so please call me out if I'm being stupid. But if a room is warm and then the outside of the rooms, the rest of the environment, the ambient temperature is colder. Call me crazy, but when you open the room and you leave the door open, isn't the air gonna mix? Aren't you gonna lose the temperature from the warm room? But they leave the door open and somehow the temperature is still fine. Now, even if it's pressurized, they go inside this room, they kind of sort of make noise. Their temperature is changing, it is fluctuating, and yet they're still invisible to the face huggers.
So silly.
The other overly advantageous plot is when they do the glorious acid blood scene, which I did love. I think that was excellently done. That's something I've not seen before, but they missed a lot of opportunities to make it feel as though there were more stakes involved, because she can easily aim and shoot every single one of the xenomorphs and face huggers. And in Zero G, we see all the acid blood floating around and they have to maneuver through this. And they don't get one drop of acid on them, not one. Can you imagine if you're trying to stay still so that you don't interrupt your trajectory through this thing, and you're like, and then you bump into something that changes your trajectory, and they do have some tense moments, but it was just so overly convenient with that scene. I think they should have made it so that we see the acid burning through a lot of other things, and then it going on her clothes, or her getting some in her hair, or on her face, or on her hand, and getting hurt. Come to think of it, you don't really ever see Rain hurt. That's one of the things I loved about Covenant, because you actually see the female main character getting hurt several times. Specifically Prometheus, I mean. The other issue that I could see people finding great annoyance with is the forced dialogue. As I said, the characters being jerks just for the sake of being jerks. Yes, they had a good backstory, but it just became overkill at some point. As someone had pointed out, if Andy had said a dad joke when he got the alien off of Rain, that would have been better. And you see things like this member berry situation. It's like, how many times are you gonna rinse and repeat and replay the scene with Ripley in Alien 3, I believe it was, with the xenomorph in her face, refusing to kill her? Then Electrocore alien, or as I call him, Edium, is saying, oh, I won't hurt you, I won't do anything to you because I actually need you. It's so cringe whenever people reuse these scenes like this. I've seen other movies do it too, but for some reason it just feels worse when in franchise they keep doing it. It's like, dude, stop. In Jurassic Park, they do the same thing too with Dominion and Fallen Kingdom, and it's just so uncomfortably awkward. They should stop doing that. There's paying homage, and then there's just licking people's anal holes. It doesn't look good. You can pay homage without looking like you're freaking licking their asshole. Sorry. Then, as I said before in my review, we have the big back baby mutant creature just roaring and looking terrifying, but not actually ever doing anything. There was a reason why in the movie where we had the offspring looking at Ripley, why it didn't attack her, because it saw her as its mom. This thing clearly didn't feel that way, so there's no need for it to just sit there smiling and laughing. Oh, I'm upon you. Roar. I'm gonna give you time to get away. What is this, The Land Before Time? So that part was very annoying to me. The creature was so creepy and well done in design, but I feel like they missed an opportunity there as well to really make it scary. In Aliens, the whole cat and mouse thing made more sense and actually was way more believable with Ripley, because it was still actively trying to kill her and get at her. They created a situation where Ripley was scared and she was in danger, but she was trying to protect Newt. And even then, it was, you know, like, it was terrifying. The thing was trying to kill her. The only part I thought was stupid is that her foot should have been torn off with the sheer pressure of the queen hanging on to her ankle. You know how heavy that thing must be? But clearly, even in the scene, Ripley was in pain. supposed to make sounds in space. Another issue people had was the cameos. It seems like every movie nowadays must have cameos. Sometimes the cameos work, and you can weave them quite well into the story, and it actually makes sense, giving them extra substance to not only the characters, but to the story universe as a whole. And sometimes the cameos just don't freaking work. And as Enzo there pointed out, not because somebody was successful with cameos means you must always put them in there and do them with absolutely everything. It's getting annoying. They only worked in the past because when people saw them, it was a surprise and something that they don't usually expect because it's hardly ever done. Then everyone starts doing it, and guess what happens? It loses its value and its meaning. And since this is done to death, I can completely understand why people are completely sick and tired of seeing this in their movies. Did it break this movie for me? Definitely not. I still love Alien. I mean, I'm not really a hard person to please when it comes to seeing xenomorphs, as long as you keep them scary and keep them as xenomorphs. But I understand to the main moviegoer, it's completely a mind-numbing, eye-rolling experience when yet again they see their beloved franchise copy-pasting exactly the same methods that every other Hollywood production has done to absolute death, and people don't really like Hollywood or anything that comes out of it nowadays. So in the realm of that, I completely understand. That being said, this movie didn't make me want to go back in theaters and watch it again. It made me want to go back and watch Prometheus and Covenant again. It just made me more excited for Prometheus and Covenant, if you can believe that. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Usually if I see a really good movie like Deadpool and Wolverine, I want to go back to the theaters, pay to watch that several times over again because the experience was so great. Same with the Avatar movies. I would pay to see The Lion King and the first Jurassic Park movie again in theaters if I could. Can you imagine what it would feel like watching those on the big screen? Whenever I go back and revisit those movies, I always get the chill. And that's what I mean about rewatchability. With this Alien movie, that's not the case. Even Alien Resurrection, I actually wanted to go back and watch that movie as well. There were things I hadn't seen in this, and I do like the risks that they take with this universe. And the reason why the Offspring thing didn't even bother me to that degree is because I thought, and I could be wrong, that what made the Alien franchise so unique was the type of aliens that these xenomorphs were, being able to adapt based on the DNA of their host, and as a result, take on endless different forms. That's one of the coolest things about this franchise. I mean, just look at some of those designs for these alien forms, these xenomorph forms. Isn't this sick? So the concept of the necromorph, the offspring, the protomorph, all of that, I know some people might not like it, but that is still very on par with the Alien franchise. I mean, we got Pred Alien over here with freaking icing on the leg tops. You don't always see a xenomorph with cheeks, but when you do, you never forget it. And I remember when I posted this picture on Twitter and like 100 of y'all bookmarked that shit. Nasty ass. So what do you guys think? Without insulting anyone for their likes or dislikes, do you think that the people who disliked it had a decent reason why? I mean, those are a lot of different reasons that I listed, but for those of you that did like the movie, what did you like about it? What is it that sold you about this? What could you change if you could?